Hello everybody and welcome to my Facebook Live today. So as a few of you probably received notifications through email and on Facebook and in my group that I'm doing this today. So I'm a little bit nervous, but my aim today is to share with you my story. I've got my notes here, and the reason that I'm doing that is because I feel that a lot of you don't really know me. You may not know who I am. You may not know about my history. You may not know what I've been through in life. And when I don't know someone, I find it difficult to trust them, to open up to them, and to accept support from them. So that's part of the reason that I'm doing this, is to share with that, to be visible, to hopefully be authentic, and to let you know who I am as a person. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I see a few people are coming in, so that's great. I have got my notes. I will be looking down at both, but I'll try and kind of look up to the camera and just talk to you throughout this, and you might hear my voice calming down as I get into it. Okay, so I was brought up in a fairly normal family. My father was a consultant surgeon, and it was very much about achieving in my family. There was a strong emphasis on being high achievers, doing really well. I had three brothers who were very high achievers, and there was nothing wrong in that. And I was kind of brought into that, and I went to boarding school at the age of 9, and I did exceptionally well. I was a really good student. I did really well, and it was all kind of tick boxes. This child is going to go a long way. So that was a good start to things. But I think over time, what started to creep in as I moved into my teenage years was a sense of being less than, of not being worthy of some of these things that these people were telling me that I could achieve. And it was very subtle. It was kind of underneath. And at that time, I kind of got in with a group of girls, and we started drinking and going out and doing some kind of just getting up to mischief, really. But I think what that gave me was a sense of, okay, this is something I can do, and this is something I can be good at. And I almost started to dismiss all this other stuff, which was actually quite tough to achieve at. It felt like hard work. This was like a bit easier and a lot more fun. So off I went doing that, and I continued to kind of achieve academically, which was great. And I went on to university to do psychology, and but all the time I was just having a good time, and I started to take drugs, and I kind of got away with it for quite a while. But I think then it's really started to kick in, and I started to kind of get some paranoia, and I was missing stuff at university, so then I was feeling bad about that, so I just ignore it and carry on, and this kind of pattern happened, and it just got worse and worse. I managed to scrape through university, but as you would have seen if you got the email, I was quite ill by that point. I was heavily addicted to substances and to drugs, and just scraping through really at university. And in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that I wasn't achieving my potential, but I didn't care at that point. Anyway, I left university and I met someone, and we had children. And then I found myself, I suppose my pride kicked in at that point, and I wanted to prove to the world that I was going to be this young mom. I was going to prove that I was good at this, and that I didn't need any help. But that's been one of my biggest problems, is not being able to ask for help in my life. So I took myself off to a little cottage in Wales, and I was struggling with this, my own addictions, my low self-worth. By that point, I started to get a lot of depression kick in, because it was really tough. It's really hard looking. I had 3 children under 5, and I wasn't doing particularly well at it. So you know, then I started to feel guilty. And, you know, I was just trying to avoid all these feelings that were going on and just keep trying. It felt like I was just trying to get through from day to day. And, you know, a lot of hopelessness started to kick in at that point. As they got a little bit, I did go for job interviews, but I just didn't feel worthy enough of these jobs that, you know, I was being offered or could be offered. And a lot of the time I fill in job applications, you know, for things working in, you know, the psychology field or working with other people, but I just didn't feel worthy. And I think the key for me was that I wasn't sorted. I was in a really bad way. So I had, in reality, I had not a lot to give, but also I had that really low self-worth and you know, I was struggling with depression. So actually getting out of the house and doing things, you know, doing the basics was just an effort every day. And I was, you know, I became very paranoid as well. Okay, so things started to turn around for me in 1998. It's a bit of a long journey, but in 1998 I had a major car accident, and I was knocked off the road by a drink driver. I'm going to stop there for a minute because I'm noticing that there's a few people in the group or on the page who are saying hi. So yeah, great. It's great to see you here. Thanks so much for your support in this, and yeah, really brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so getting back to where I was, this car accident that happened in '98. What happened is I ended up in hospital, and yeah, I had a lot of problems at that point, and I was in hospital, and they kind of cottoned on to that, and they put me on a program, basically, of support. So in a way, it was my first acknowledgement that actually I needed somebody, I needed some help. And they put me on a program of support. One of the things that I received was acupuncture. And I still have acupuncture to this day. And the acupuncture really helped. It was amazing the effect it had on me because it just calmed me down. I was so stressed out at that point. And it just started to rebalance me and calm me down. And I started to see a counsellor. Okay, so we're getting lots of kind of likes coming in, so it's great. I'm glad you're all kind of enjoying this. My nerves, it's great to see you here because my nerves are calming down a bit. So at that point, my wisest idea, which was a good idea, but I enrolled on a counselling course not long after I'd come out of hospital. And which was great. However, I really wasn't in a position to counsel anybody else. And the teacher, she kind of picked this up, and she said to me, I want you to just write about you. So I spent a year, I got through the course, but I spent a year almost kind of counselling myself. So I had to write a journal, and I had to do that daily, and I had to submit it to her and share it with her. And the miracle of that, and what I started to learn on that, was actually that I could be a different person, or I could be different to how I was. There was a way out. I started to recognize and realize that, and I realized that I had hopes and dreams, and that I wasn't destined to be the way I was, and that, you know, if I started to change just a few things, I could, maybe my life could get better. So I just started to realize that at that point, and that was through that gift of that course. You know, that course where I was asked to journal intensively for a year. But it was brilliant. It, you know, really did me a world of good. Okay, so on the back of that, I then, on that self-reflection, I then started to make some changes in my life. And in 2001, I entered into an intensive year of long-term therapy, and I tackled the addiction problem that I had, and I started to really look at myself. It was a really challenging year. You know, it was very tricky and very challenging. The counsellors were very challenging with me, and basically it was just about showing up for myself. And I can never remember. I'll never forget there was a counsellor in that particular. It was a rehab I was in, and she said to me, she said, "One day you're going to be working here." I didn't go and work there, but I did go and work in a different rehab. So, you know, there was something in me. There was something there, you know, that I needed to give back what I'd been given and what I was learning. And it's always kind of been my path to work with people with, psychology and therapy. So I came out of there, and I was a better person. I'd learned some things about myself. I could cope. I had some coping strategies, which was fantastic. But there were other things that I needed to learn, and I needed to learn how to be a parent. And they sent me off for parenting classes, which was a massive wrench on my pride. But it was fantastic because there was basic skills that I just did not understand, did not know. A lot of that was about how to communicate with people, how to interact with people, how to interact with my children. And also I started to learn about boundaries because I was a chronic people pleaser. I just wanted to please everybody in my life because I was so terrified of what they would think of me. So I had to really address that. And I almost went the other way for a while. I was just like, no to everything. And now I have more balance with that. But it was a time where I really had to learn to say no, to not do things that I didn't want to do, and to not do things that weren't in alignment with me, that weren't good for me. I was doing a lot of things that weren't good for me. And, that wasn't helping my self-esteem. So I needed to learn to do that and to have boundaries. I also had to address some of the trauma of my past, which actually I did in the year of intent therapy, but that continued on. The trauma of what I'd done to myself and the trauma of what other people had done to me. And I needed to slowly start to address that. Guilt, and the fact that I was a really angry person. I'd always perceived myself as somebody who's quite calm and chilled out. And actually I recognized that I was a really angry person. I was angry with myself, but I was angry with the world. I had a sense of injustice. I felt quite self-piteous. Why me? Poor me. My life has turned out the way it has. And all that stuff, I had to come out, and I had to actually go, yeah, I'm actually really angry. And, to recognize when I was angry when things happened, around me, and actually just go, yes, because I had shame about anger. I felt that I couldn't be angry because it was a shameful thing to be angry. It was something that needed to be shut down, and that was something I'd learnt, in my early childhood. Okay, so I continued to suffer with panic attacks, and going back, I had some quite bad panic attacks when I was a young mum with 3 children under 5, and the panic attacks. A couple of times I'd called out ambulance support because I just didn't know what was happening. And as I came, into kind of my new life, I was still suffering from these chronic panic attacks. So I started to research what could help me with that, and I found cognitive behaviour therapy, and a particular form of it called rational emotive behaviour therapy. And one of the greatest kind of panic areas for me was being on a train. And there was 2 reasons I would have a panic attack on a train. The first one, because it was very cramped and there was lots of people. I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I would get this sensation where I couldn't breathe. And the second one, that quite often I had this fear of being late because of what people would think of me. So there were 2 sides, and I learned to practice my breathing and to just breathe into anxiety. But I also learned some tools to accept myself, accept that, if I'm late, it's not the end of the world, and just rationalize a lot of my thoughts. And it absolutely turned my life around. And what I started to develop was a sense of self-acceptance of who I am and the fact that I make mistakes, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Okay, I'm seeing some Me Too and some panic attacks are so dark. Thanks, Valerie, for that. Sharon, you're saying, yeah, Me Too. Irene, you're ashamed of your anger too. I'm getting loads of people relating. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so moving on. At that point, I studied a course in cognitive behaviour therapy, and I started to work with others. And I think that's always been my true purpose, was to work with others, you know, in some kind of psychology field. And another part of that was it made me feel of value. And that wasn't in a people-pleasing way. It was in a giving back way. It was in, you know, I've got something to offer, and giving that to other people, seeing other people change and grow and get well, you know, mentally. It was just, it really helped me to feel, that self-esteem really started to build. And I had a long journey with that. I learned lots of skills of texting. I did hundreds and hundreds of courses during that time. That's a slight exaggeration to do hundreds, but I did quite a few. And February of last year, sort of cutting forward to February last year, I suddenly became in a position where I had no employment. I was let go of a management role, and I just thought, what am I going to do now? And I just decided at that point that I was going to try and set up myself doing this, bring everything together that I've learned and taking that message out into the world. Massive risk, massive task. I'm on that journey at the moment, and it's been amazing because I've just hopped back on another self-development journey for myself doing that. And what that has been is recognizing that I have a ceiling where before I had a lot of low self-worth, and now I've kind of reached this ceiling of like, well, I'm doing quite well now, so I don't need to push it any further. And I've needed to change my mindset around that, because I can, we can all go a lot further. You can go a lot further. If it's there, if it's your calling, it can happen. But it's tough, because almost everything kicks in to go, no, don't do it. Go back to that comfortable place that you were in before. So I've had to really work on my mindset. And there's some people in this group who will know this. I was on a beautiful retreat in September last year. And that's when I started to learn about myself in that way. I started to step up the self-care, to step up the mindset, to step up the really focusing my thoughts and feelings in the morning, thinking about how I am on a daily basis. Previously, when I used to go to work, it didn't really matter. If I went into work feeling fed up, by the middle of the day, I was so busy that I'd kind of get over it. And other people would just tell me what to do. But now, having my own business, my own venture, I need to be in a mindset that's engaged with that, that's aligned with that. And, I need to feel okay with me. I need to feel focused. I need to feel ready for my day. I need to feel energized. I need to feel revitalized. And so I have a morning routine, where I go through some energy, realigning, I do some yoga, I do some meditation, and I focus. And, it's kick-started me into a new level of self-care. And, my hope is that I can really take this further, and I can really start to help some people, to also do what I'm doing, to really achieve your purpose in life, to not just be happy with that, plodding along in life, because we all have a calling of some sort. Okay. I'm just going to take a break there, have a look, see if there's any comments. Valerie says, was that in Tuscany? Yes, of course that was in Tuscany. Yeah, I'm talking about Tuscany, our wonderful retreat in Tuscany. Okay, so winding up, this is where I am now. My message to you is that, I want to help you to truly become the person that you want to be. And, I have a whole heap of skills, techniques, models, but also that sense, it's about you. It's about the internal you, and getting in touch with that. And I'm on the journey of that, and I want to share that with you. And I hope you've got something from today. I was nervous. It's not been easy for me to share because of all that old stuff I said. The shame, the guilt, the keeping small. And I've been able to push through that, and a lot of that's been through your support, actually, for you kind of, liking my page, for you being supports with me on the retreat, through just the interactions that we've been having anyway, and that's been starting to build up. So let's keep this going. And as I said, there's going to be an exciting stream of videos this week on various topics. So I do hope you can stay with me for the week. I'll be posting, events and letting people know as they're happening. But something's going to be happening every day on this Crystal Clear Retreats page. So I'm going to wind it up now. Thank you so much for being here, and just see if there's any other comments. So there's a thank you there. Helen saying you inspire me. Yvonne saying inspiring. Yeah, thank you. You guys are inspiring too as well in the journeys that you're taking in your lives. Okay, so take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you again soon. Bye.